Long ago, the galaxy forgot about Earth. It was not a mistake, it was a choice. The great alien council saw humanity as weak and unimportant, and so they turned away from the small blue world at the edge of a quiet spiral arm trade route skipped. Earth and no fleets came to defend it when wars shook the stars for the galaxy. Earth was already lost in the shadows, and so the galaxy moved on believing the humans would fade and vanish. But humanity did not die, they waited, and they worked in silence while others ignored them. Earth changed centuries past, and the people of Earth never forgave what had been done to them. They remembered being abandoned, they remembered being treated as nothing, and that memory burned like fire in every heart. When contact was lost, humanity looked inward. They learned to build alone. They learned to grow without help. No alien traders, no alien teachers, only human minds and human hands, building what they needed, and every generation carried the same quiet anger that one day they would not be forgotten anymore. In the beginning, Earth was broken. There were wars, hunger, and despair. But slowly they rose. They spread into the solar system and mined the asteroids. They built small ships first, slow and fragile, but each ship was stronger than the last. They reached Mars and built domes. There they reached Titan and dug deep cities under ice. They turned the moons of Jupiter into foundries and shipyards, while the galaxy thought Earth was dust. Humanity was becoming steel for every failure they learned, for every death. They grew harder and their ships grew larger and their weapons more deadly for centuries. No one in the galaxy looked their way. No one asked what humans were building in. The dark void, that silence, became a shield. It became time to grow, and no one stopped them. Humans found things too, ruins left behind by ancient powers, hidden technology buried in forgotten systems. They studied it and remade it in their own way. Soon, Earth was no longer a world struggling to survive. It was the heart of something far greater, a rising power hidden under the cloak of obscurity. Yet to the galaxy, Earth was still nothing, a backwater world of primitives, but those who lived. In the empire of men knew the truth. They knew what they had built in silence, and they swore they would never again beg for help or mercy. Humanity's leaders never forgot the day. The galaxy turned away. They kept the story alive, taught in every school, passed in every family. The lesson was simple: trust. No one rely on. No one survive on your own or perish. So when the time came, when the stars called to them again, humanity did not go as beggars or servants. They went as conquerors. Their first great ships were nothing like the old fragile vessels. These were monsters of iron and fire, each one longer than cities, bristling with weapons, the size of towers, powered by engines that could tear across light years with ease. The first time such a ship launched from the hidden shipyards of Saturn, even the humans themselves stood in awe. They had become something greater than what the galaxy had once abandoned. They had become an empire, but this empire had no name, yet no throne, no crown. It was only whispered: the human empire, the forgotten ones who rose again. Earth was patient. Earth was silent, but Earth was ready to return. And though no alien eye had seen them yet, humanity knew the day would come when they would step back into the galaxy, not as the forgotten, not as the weak, but as the storm that would change everything. Humanity had been broken once, but in being broken, they learned how to never break again. And that secret the galaxy did not know. Soon it would. While the galaxy forgot Earth, the humans spread like shadows, moving carefully from star to star, never announcing themselves, never drawing attention. The first colonies were hidden places, dark, barren rocks that no alien would ever visit. But humans made them alive. They carved cities under mountains and seas of frozen ice. They built domes that glowed on lifeless worlds, and they turned emptiness into home. At first, their fleets were small transports and miners, but every ship carried more people, more machines, more dreams. With each year, the human reach grew longer, and the galaxy still did not notice trade routes and star charts never marked the paths humans used. Their maps were secret, and their ships never sent signals to outsiders. They learned stealth and silence better than any species had before. While the Council debated wars and politics, humans worked in silence, building a web of colonies stretching farther and farther. Some colonies failed. Some were lost to storms or hunger, or empty space, but humanity never stopped. They learned and adapted until failure was rare. Soon there were not just dozens of human colonies, but hundreds spread across systems no one cared about. No one watched as humans grew stronger. But the humans themselves never forgot what they were doing. They knew the day would come when someone noticed them again, so they planned for it quietly. Every colony was built not only to live but also to fight. Hidden under the ground were factories, hidden in orbit were secret docks, hidden in dark stations, were weapons waiting in silence. Humans began to unite under one banner. It was not a banner seen in public. It was whispered only among leaders and captains, the dream of an empire, not a weak, fractured Earth, but a united power that no one could break. They called it simply the return, the belief that one day humanity would return to the stage of the galaxy, not as forgotten, not as weak, but as rulers. Entire generations grew up under this dream. Children on Mars learned not only farming and science, but also discipline and war. Children on Titan trained in frozen winds until they could endure anything. Children on colony worlds studied history, learning every betrayal, every insult. The galaxy had once given to Earth the anger of the past, became the fuel of the future as centuries passed. The silent expansion became too large to hide forever. Human fleets began to move in patterns noticed by no one, but if any alien eye had seen them, they would have trembled, for the ships were no longer small. They were giants of metal with hulls that could withstand storms of plasma, with cannons that could tear moons apart, and engines that could vanish into dark space only to appear light. Years away, humanity had discovered secrets in the void, secrets left behind by ancient powers. Ruins buried under dead suns and lost stations floating in forgotten systems. Humans studied them for centuries and slowly remade the lost knowledge into weapons of their own while the galaxy fought wars over borders and treaties. Humans prepared for something greater than war. They prepared for domination. Entire star systems were quietly transformed into strongholds without anyone knowing. Vast factories hidden under planetary crusts, massive docks built inside hollowed asteroids, endless training fields carved into barren moons. This was the silent empire growing in the dark, unseen, unknown, and unstoppable. But even in silence, the humans did not forget the past. They still remembered the council that had abandoned them. They remembered the day Earth was cut off, and every colony carried that memory like a wound waiting to be avenged. Leaders spoke in whispers, promising that when the day of return came, no alien would ever again call humans weak. Every expansion was done with care. If a star system was too close to alien eyes, humans moved farther. If a colony risked exposure, it was erased, and its people moved. The empire valued secrecy above all, because secrecy was survival. Centuries passed, and the humans grew confident in their silence. Yet deep inside, every leader knew the truth. Silence could not last forever. One day, someone would notice. One day, the galaxy would see what had been built, and when that day came, humanity would be ready. The forgotten ones were forgotten no more. They had spread across hundreds of systems, with fleets larger than most councils could imagine, with technology that had no equal, and with a hunger that had only grown sharper in the dark, the hunger to return to the galaxy not as beggars, but as masters. The silent expansion had forged humanity into something new, not the same species the council had abandoned, but something far stronger, Something forged by fire time and rage. The galaxy still lived in ignorance, but the day of awakening was coming soon, and when the galaxy finally looked back at Earth, it would not see weakness. It would see an empire of steel waiting in, silence and smiling in the dark. It happened on a quiet border. No one cared about a forgotten trade lane far from the crowded heart of the galaxy. An alien patrol ship moved slowly, scanning the dark. Their orders were simple: watch for pirates and smugglers, nothing more for centuries. No patrol had ever seen anything unusual there, and no one expected to. But on this day, the scanners began to scream. The alien crew looked at their screens and saw something impossible. A ship larger than anything they had ever seen was moving through. The void, at first, they thought it was a mistake, a sensor glitch, but as it drew closer, they realized it was real. A massive vessel of black steel moving with purpose, its size dwarfed their patrol ship. Its shape was strange, sharp angles, dark plating. No signals, no codes, no banners. It was silent like a predator. The alien captain tried to hail it. No answer came. He tried again. Nothing. Then suddenly, the massive ship turned slowly to face them. The alien crew froze its hull, bristled with weapons. Towers of cannons and missile bays, glowing lights that hinted at power beyond anything they knew. Fear spread through the patrol ship. The alien captain sent an urgent message to the council, reporting what he saw. He called it a ghost from the void, a ship too large to exist within minutes. Their message spread across secure networks. Panic rippled through the council halls when the description reached them. Some remembered the old name Earth, but most refused to believe it. The patrol ship kept transmitting until the human vessel moved closer. The alien captain ordered retreat, but it was too late. A single burst of energy pulsed from the human ship. It did not destroy them. It did not kill them. Instead, it shut their systems down. Their engines fell silent. Their weapons froze. Their lights went dark. The patrol ship drifted helplessly in the void. Then a voice came across the channel. Calm, steady, in a language the aliens had not heard in centuries. The voice said, "We are humanity. We have returned." Then silence followed. The alien crew stared in shock. They had thought Earth dead, forgotten, erased. Now they saw the truth. Humanity was alive and more powerful than ever before. The human ship did not fire again. It turned and vanished into dark space engines burning with light that made the void tremble. The aliens were left floating powerless until rescue came when they were brought before the council. Their story spread across every world. At first, many laughed. They called it lies. They said no forgotten world could have built such a monster. But others remembered the warnings of the past that humans were dangerous if left alone soon. Whispers grew into fear. Some demanded the council find this human empire at once. Others wanted to ignore it, hoping the sighting was only chance. But the truth was already moving faster than them, for that human ship had not been alone in the shadows of the galaxy. More vessels stirred, massive warships, carriers, dreadnoughts unseen for centuries. The first contact was not truly an accident. It was a test. Humanity had shown itself not by mistake, but by choice. They wanted the galaxy to know they were back, but only a glimpse, only a whisper. Not the full storm, yet the aliens did not understand this. They thought they had discovered something rare, but in truth they had only been allowed to see what humanity wanted them to see. The patrol ship's report became the most feared document in the council archives. It described a vessel stronger than 10 fleets. It described weapons they could not identify. It described silence that was more terrifying than open war. And most of all, it described a name, humanity. A name the galaxy had buried long ago. But now that name had returned, and it carried the weight of fire and steel across every council world. Debates raged. Some demanded preemptive war to crush this rising empire. Others demanded peace, hoping to tame it. But deep inside all of them fear grew, for if the humans had truly built such power in silence, what else had they built unseen in the far reaches of space? As the Council argued, human fleets prepared in secret. More and more ships left the hidden docks of Saturn and Mars. More colonies armed themselves. More weapons were tested. The first contact had been made, and the galaxy had finally looked back at Earth. But what it saw was not weakness. What it saw was the beginning of a storm that would soon sweep across the stars humanity had chosen its. Moment carefully, the silence was ending. The return had begun. The great council chamber was filled with voices the moment the word humanity was spoken. The air itself seemed heavy. The leaders of dozens of species argued, shouted, and accused each other. Some claimed the report of the patrol was a lie, some said. It was an exaggeration to hide their own failures. But the images were clear. A massive black warship, larger than any ship in Council history, drifting through the void, its weapons shining, its engines burning like suns. The proof could not be denied. Fear spread through the chamber like fire. One elder of the Council rose and spoke with shaking voice. He said, "Long ago, Earth was cast out. We cut trade. We closed borders. We declared them unworthy now. If they have returned, they will not forgive us." His words made the chamber silent for a moment. But then another leader spoke with anger, saying, "They are still only humans. They were weak before they will be weak again. We must crush them now before they grow bolder." But others shouted in answer, asking, "How can we crush them if one ship alone froze a patrol fleet without firing a shot, if that is only one? What do they have hidden if they come in numbers? Can any of us survive?" Whispers moved across the rows. Some remembered rumors from centuries, past about humans who fought wars unlike any other species, wars of fire where they burned their own worlds but never surrendered, wars where they lost everything but still rose again. The Council could not agree. Some wanted to send fleets immediately to hunt the humans. Others warned that such a move would only wake a sleeping storm. And yet while they argued, reports began to appear small. Trade ships missing strange signals in forgotten systems, whispers of entire colonies vanishing without a trace. Some feared the humans were already testing their strength in the shadows, while others insisted it was lies planted by smugglers. But the fear could not be stopped. The Council chambers became a battlefield of words. One alien lord slammed, his fist on the table, declaring, "If humanity has built an empire in silence, then we are already too late." Another countered with cries of peace, saying, "If they have grown so powerful, we must reach them before war begins. Perhaps trade, perhaps alliance, perhaps forgiveness." But many laughed at that idea, asking, why would humans forgive after being abandoned, after being forgotten, when the debate reached its peak? The chamber fell into silence as one old counselor stood. He was one of the few, still, alive from the age when Earth was cast aside. His voice was slow but strong. He said, "I warned you then, and I warn you now. Humans are not like us. They do not forget, they do not forgive. We believed they would wither without us, but instead, they sharpened themselves in silence. If they have returned, then the galaxy itself is in danger." His words left the chamber trembling still. No answer was found. They voted for endless debate while fleets were placed on alert, while spies were sent into dark space to search for human colonies, but none returned. Some never came back. Others sent fragments of messages speaking of vast stations glowing in black space, or colossal fleets moving silently before their signals died. The fear became real. The Council could not hide it from their people. Whispers turned into panic across many worlds. Ordinary citizens remembered the old name of Earth, and they asked what would happen if humanity was no longer weak. What would happen if they came with fire and vengeance? The debate raged on for days, but no decision was made. The Council was divided, each side paralyzed by fear or arrogance. In the end, they released a statement claiming the patrol report was under review, telling the galaxy not to panic. But behind closed doors, they built plans for war fleets, were gathered weapons, prepared messages sent to allies to be ready for conflict. Yet even as they prepared, they knew deep down it might already be too late for in the dark beyond their borders. Humanity was watching and listening. Their envoys hidden among the stars had already heard the debates and carried the words back to Earth, and when the human leaders learned how the council argued, laughed, and feared, they smiled, because this was exactly what they had waited for. The galaxy was divided. The council was afraid, and humanity had been patient for centuries. The time to return was almost here, and no amount of debate could stop what was coming. When the Council's demand finally reached Earth, the message was filled with arrogance and fear. It ordered humanity to submit to the authority of the Galactic Council, to disarm their fleets, to dismantle their colonies, to bow before the very powers that had once abandoned them. The Council expected fear. They expected humans to tremble and beg, but humanity only laughed for centuries. They had prepared for this moment, and now it had come. The human leaders gathered in the great chamber of Luna's capital under the shadow of the colossal warship dockyards. They read the message aloud to the assembled commanders, captains, and governors, and when the words of surrender ended, the chamber echoed with cold silence. Then the Emperor of humanity rose, and his voice carried across every channel of the empire. He said, "We will not kneel, we will not disarm, we will not forget. They cast us into darkness, and from that darkness we forged fire. If they want our surrender, they will have to take it from our dead," and every commander shouted as one, "Let them come." Fleets moved within hours. Warships rose from the shipyards of Saturn. Dreadnoughts launched from the forges of Mars. Carriers left the docks of Jupiter. Swarms of smaller escorts and strike ships filled the void. Humanity had kept their fleets hidden for centuries. Now they revealed only a fraction of their power, and even that was enough to make the stars tremble. They did not wait for the Council to send another threat. Instead, a human fleet appeared in the heart of Council space. Colossal black warships materialized near the Council's homeworld. The sudden arrival sent alarms across the system. Defense fleets scrambled, weapons charged, but the humans did not fire. Instead, they broadcast a single message to every world, every station, every ship. This is humanity. We have returned. The message was calm, the voice steady, without rage, without fear. It carried more weight than any weapon because it showed confidence. It showed power behind it. The humans offered terms, but not as the Council expected. They did not ask for forgiveness. They did not beg for peace. Instead, they gave the galaxy a choice. Those who respected human sovereignty would be left in peace. Those who allied with humanity would share in their strength, but those who dared to strike against them would face complete destruction. The message ended with silence. The human fleet remained unmoving, dark giants waiting as the Council trembled in panic. Many Council worlds demanded immediate war. Others demanded surrender. But the truth was clear. No one in the chamber truly believed they could defeat what they had just seen. The fleet that appeared was only the beginning, if one. Human ship had frozen a patrol now. An entire fleet had paralyzed the heart of the galaxy. The Council scrambled to respond, but humanity was already ahead across the galaxy. Human envoys appeared in secret colonies and systems, reaching out to races who had long been oppressed by the Council, promising them protection in exchange for loyalty. Small worlds, tired of being ignored, began to whisper of joining the humans. Even some Council species quietly sent messages asking for talks. The fear of war was balanced by the hope of freedom. The Council knew this was the beginning of something far larger than a simple standoff. It was the beginning of a war of influence, a war of fear, a war of loyalty, and humanity had struck the first blow. Not with weapons, but with their presence. The response of humanity had been simple and absolute. They would not kneel. They would not hide. They would stand as an empire of their own, and from this moment forward the galaxy would never again call them weak, The Forgotten Ones had answered the Council's demand with iron and fire, and in doing so they had declared that the age of silence was over. Now the age of humanity had begun. The first clash between humanity and the Council came sooner than anyone expected. It began with fire and ended with silence. The Council could not accept humiliation after the human fleet appeared in their skies. They gathered the strongest armadas from their loyal worlds, fleets of dozens of species, each bringing their finest warships. They boasted that their combined strength would crush humanity in one strike. They called it the Cleansing Fleet, a force so vast that even the stars seemed to darken as it moved. Its target was a human colony hidden near the edge of Council space, a world the humans had fortified in secret. When the Cleansing Fleet arrived, they expected a swift victory, but what they found was something beyond imagination. The human defenders were ready. Massive stations orbited the colony, cloaked until now bristling with weapons unseen before the colony itself was shielded by layers of defense that no alien race had ever built. The Council Admiral gave the order to attack. Thousands of alien ships charged forward beams and missiles, streaking through the void. The first barrage struck the human shields, and for a moment, the galaxy held its breath. But then the shields held strong, and the human response began. The void lit up as colossal cannons roared from hidden platforms on moons and asteroids. Railguns fired slugs the size of towers, tearing through alien cruisers in a single hit. Missiles unfolded into swarms, splitting into dozens of smaller warheads that tracked targets like predators. Alien ships exploded one after another. Panic spread through the Cleansing Fleet. They had expected resistance, but not annihilation. Human warships emerged from dark space engines glowing like suns, black-armored, giants unleashing storms of fire. Their weapons cut through enemy formations like blades through glass. Whole squadrons vanished in moments. The Council admirals screamed for order, but it was too late. Their tactics, designed for centuries of slow, predictable wars, failed completely against the speed and precision of humanity. The humans fought with brutal efficiency. Every shot counted, every move calculated. Their ships moved in silence, striking with deadly accuracy as if the battle had been rehearsed for centuries. In truth, humans had trained for this moment in secret war games for generations. The Cleansing Fleet was being undone in hours. What was supposed to be a show of strength had become a massacre. One alien captain described it in his final transmission as fighting the storm itself. Ships vanished around him as if swallowed by the void itself. Desperation grew. Some attempted to retreat, but human ships pursued them, engines burning faster than any alien craft could match. No escape was possible. Still, the humans did not fight with blind rage. They fought with cold control. They spared a handful of fleeing ships, deliberately allowing them to escape, not out of mercy, but out of strategy. Those survivors would carry the tale back to the Council. They would tell the galaxy what they had seen, and fear would spread faster than any fleet. When the battle ended, the void was littered with wreckage, thousands of alien ships reduced to drifting carcasses glowing with fire. While the human fleet stood nearly untouched, the colony remained unharmed, its people safe, its defenses stronger than ever. The first clash was over, and the galaxy trembled. News of the disaster spread like wildfire. The Cleansing Fleet was supposed to be invincible. It was supposed to erase humanity in a single blow. Instead, it had been erased itself. Whispers echoed in council halls. If one human colony could destroy the greatest fleet, what chance did they have against the full empire? Fear turned to dread. The balance of power had shattered in a single night. The first clash had proven what the humans already knew. They were no longer the forgotten. They were no longer weak. They were predators in the dark, and the galaxy itself had just learned what it meant to challenge them. The galaxy had never known fear like this before. The Cleansing Fleet was gone. Thousands of ships burned in silence, and only a handful of survivors escaped to tell the tale. Their stories spread faster than light across council space. They spoke of black warships too large to be real, of weapons that tore through entire squadrons, with a single strike of shields that did not fall even under the heaviest fire. They spoke of human fleets, moving like hunters, striking with precision and vanishing. Before any counter could be made, the survivors looked broken, their voices filled with terror. They said fighting the humans was like fighting the end of the universe itself. And these words planted fear in every heart. Entire worlds began to whisper that the Council had lied, that the humans were no longer weak or primitive, but something greater, something terrifying. While the Council tried to hide the truth, panic grew, markets crashed, colonies rioted, and ordinary citizens demanded to know. If the rumors were true, some begged the Council to make peace with the humans. Others fled their homes seeking safety in distant systems. But the truth was, there was no safety, for if humanity could appear in the heart of Council space, then no world was beyond their reach. Fear turned to surrender, as smaller races who had long been oppressed by the Council began sending secret messages to humanity, begging for protection, offering loyalty in exchange for survival, and humanity accepted them. With cold patience, they did not need to conquer these worlds. They simply opened their hands, and fear delivered allies to them. Entire species swore fealty without a single battle, and the human empire grew larger. Every day, the Council watched helplessly. As its power fractured, some of its own members whispered of joining humanity rather than resisting them. The rise of fear was faster than any war could ever be, and humanity knew this was their greatest weapon. They had waited in silence for centuries. They had grown in the dark for this very moment. They did not need to fight every world. They only needed fear to spread like fire, and it did across every corner of the galaxy. The name of Earth became a curse and a prayer at the same time. Enemies spoke it with dread, allies spoke it with hope. Children whispered it at night as a warning of power their parents could not explain. And still humanity moved with care. They did not unleash their full strength. Not yet. They allowed the galaxy to terrify itself with shadows and rumors. They sent a few fleets here and there, crushing those who resisted, sparing those who surrendered. The message was simple: humans did not forgive, but they would protect those who bent the knee. Each victory, no matter how small, became a legend told and retold until entire systems surrendered without a single shot. Fired fear had risen, and it was now shaping the galaxy more than the Council ever could. The old order was breaking down. The Council, which once ruled with authority, was now divided and powerless. Some members called for desperate attacks. Others begged for talks, but none could agree. And while they argued, humanity grew stronger. The rise of fear was not only in the Council chambers. It was in every world, every port, every home in the galaxy. The people had seen the cleansing fleet fall, and they knew if the strongest could not stand against Earth, then no one could. The Forgotten Ones had returned, and with their return, the galaxy itself was being remade into something new, something ruled not by old councils or fragile treaties, but by the shadow of humanity standing tall with fleets of steel and fire, ready to strike at any who dared defy them. The rise of fear was only the beginning. Humanity had risen with fear, but fear alone was not enough, because deep within every human heart burned a memory, a wound that had never healed. The galaxy had abandoned them. When they were weak, it had turned its back. When Earth cried out for help, it had erased their name from records as if they had never existed. That betrayal was never forgotten. And now, as humanity stood tall with fleets of iron and colonies of steel, they began to settle old debts. The shadows of revenge stretched long. Across the stars, human leaders gathered in silent halls, their maps marked not only with new allies, but also with old enemies, the species who had laughed when Earth was cast aside, the ones who had profited from their suffering, the ones who had called them worthless. Their names were remembered, and now humanity would remind them what it meant to be forgotten. The first strikes were silent fleets appeared without warning above enemy worlds, their arrival not marked by speeches or demands. But by cold silence they would disable defenses within minutes. Weapons fell quiet, shields collapsed, stations shut down, and then the human fleets would send a single message. We remember the worlds that once mocked humanity now trembled entire. Populations surrendered without resistance. Knowing mercy would not be given in the shadows, human agents worked just as hard as the fleet's spies and operatives infiltrated council space, striking at key leaders who had spoken against Earth long ago. Entire governments collapsed overnight without a shot fired, replaced by voices loyal to humanity. The revenge was not wild or chaotic. It was precise, controlled, a blade cutting deep and clean. Humanity did not strike all at once, they chose carefully. Making examples of some, while letting fear spread to others, they wanted the galaxy to know that vengeance could come at any moment to any world, and there was no way to stop it. Colonies that had once refused trade with Earth were the first to fall. Their proud banners torn down, their leaders dragged into the void, never to be seen again. Still, the humans were not cruel without purpose. They did not burn cities for sport. They did not slaughter without cause. Instead, they took control. They replaced chaos with order, but they never hid their reason. They told every conquered world the same truth. This is your punishment for forgetting us, for casting us aside and leaving us to die. You believed we would vanish instead? We have returned, and you will never forget us again. The galaxy began to whisper that humanity was not just building an empire, it was building a legacy built on revenge. Every move they made carried the shadow of old wounds. Entire generations of humans had been raised with this memory, and now it guided their hands. But even as their empire grew darker, there were voices among the humans themselves who questioned if revenge alone should guide them. Some believed it would consume them. Others believed it was justice long overdue. The Emperor of Humanity himself stood before the Great Assembly and said, "We are not monsters. We are not destroyers without cause, but we will never forgive. We will never allow the past to be forgotten. Those who abandoned us must face their judgment. Those who welcome us will share our future," and so the shadows of revenge spread across the stars, and with each victory humanity's empire grew larger, stronger, more feared. Some alien worlds begged for mercy, some surrendered. Before a shot was fired, some even offered their own leaders to humanity as sacrifice, hoping to escape the storm. But the storm never stopped. It moved from system to system, a cold reminder of the price of betrayal. The Council could only watch as their oldest allies crumbled under the human return. They debated. They argued, but no answer came. They were powerless. The shadows of revenge were already here, and nothing in the galaxy could stop them anymore. Humanity had turned the pain of the past into the fire of the future, and the galaxy itself was burning in its glow. The galaxy was breaking under the weight of humanity's return. Whole fleets had been destroyed, worlds had surrendered, and the shadows of revenge spread like fire. But still the Council clung to its pride. They whispered of new alliances of building. Even larger fleets, but deep inside they knew the truth. They could not stop what had already begun. Humanity had grown too powerful, too fast, and now the end of the old order was near. Then one day the humans made their move. A fleet, larger than any ever seen, appeared not above a colony, not above a battlefield, but above the Council's own capital world. Black warships filled the sky, their hulls glowing with the fire of engines, their weapons aimed at the heart of galactic power. Panic spread across the planet as billions watched from below, expecting fire to rain down. But no fire came instead. A single broadcast cut across every channel in every language, across every world of the galaxy. The voice of the human emperor, calm and steady, filled the stars. He said we were forgotten, cast aside, abandoned to die. But we did not die. We endured, we grew, we returned, and now we stand before you. Not as the weak, not as the broken, but as the rulers of our own destiny." He paused, and then his words became colder. "This is our final warning. Those who kneel will live. Those who join us will share in our strength. Those who resist will vanish from history, as if they never existed. You will not be forgotten. You will be erased." The silence that followed was heavier than any weapon. Whole species trembled, whole governments collapsed. The council sat in shock, their leaders pale and silent, for they knew this was no empty threat. They had seen human fleets tear apart the cleansing armada. They had seen worlds fall without a fight. They had seen their people beg for protection from the very ones they had once scorned. The message spread across every star, and within days, entire systems declared their loyalty to Earth. Others surrendered, their fleets at once unwilling to face annihilation. But there were still some who refused, some who clung to the pride of the past, who believed humanity could not destroy them. All they raised banners of defiance. They promised to fight to the last. But humanity did not wait for them to gather strength. Fleets moved with ruthless precision, striking those defiant worlds without hesitation. The results were always the same. Defenses shattered, leaders executed, banners burned until the survivors bowed their heads in silence. The final warning had been delivered, and humanity kept its word. Those who resisted vanished. Those who surrendered survived, and every act of conquest spread more fear, more submission, more power to the human empire. For the first time in galactic history, the Council was silent, unable to act. Unable to lead, its members turned on one another. Some defected to humanity, some fled into the dark. Others simply waited in fear, knowing the storm would come for them. Too, the final warning had reshaped the galaxy, not with endless war, but with the simple weight of choice and fear. The galaxy now knew that the Forgotten Ones had returned, and they were not asking for respect. They were demanding obedience. The old order was falling, and a new age was beginning, an age with Earth at its center and the shadow of humanity stretching across the stars. The galaxy had changed forever. The old council was broken, its halls empty, its power shattered, and in its place, humanity stood proud. The final warning had been given, and those who survived knew that Earth now held the future in its hands. Across the stars, human fleets patrolled not as invaders, but as rulers. Their banners raised above alien worlds, their orders followed without question. The Empire was no longer just a dream. It was real. It was alive. It was growing. Every colony, every station, every fleet worked together under one name. Humanity was no longer forgotten. They were feared, respected, obeyed, and yet in the silence that followed their great victories, a new question rose among them. What kind of empire would they build? Would it be an empire of endless revenge where every alien lived in fear of human wrath, or would it be something greater, something that would last longer than war? The human emperor walked through the great halls of the new capital, a world once belonging to the council now renamed Terra Prime. His voice echoed through the assembly of humans and aliens who had sworn loyalty to him. He said, "We were forgotten once, but never again. We were cast aside, but never again. We suffered, but never again. This empire is not only ours, it is the home of all who stand with us. Those who raise their banners beside ours will share in our protection and our strength. But those who betray us, those who dare to challenge us, will be crushed without mercy." The words spread across the stars like fire, and for the first time, the galaxy saw not only fear in humanity's rise, but also stability. The Empire brought order. Trade routes once broken now opened again. Pirate fleets that had thrived in chaos now hunted, and destroyed worlds that had lived in fear of warlords now slept under human patrols. It was peace, but peace built on steel, peace built on the memory of betrayal. The aliens who joined humanity found safety, but also a warning. They lived because they had chosen wisely. They lived because humanity allowed them to live. Whispers spread in every corner of the galaxy that the Empire was unstoppable. that even the darkest corners of space would one day bow to Earth. But still, some feared that humanity's hunger would never end, that once their enemies were gone, they would turn on their allies too. Only time would answer that question for now. The dawn of the Empire was here. The first human-built star citadel rose above Terra Prime, a massive fortress shining like a second sun, its weapons strong enough to hold back entire fleets, its halls filled with human soldiers and alien advisors alike. It was both a warning and a promise, a symbol that humanity was here to stay no matter what the galaxy thought. The Empire marched forward. Every ship launched, every colony built, every world conquered was one step deeper into history. Humanity had been forgotten, once erased from records, abandoned to die, but now they had returned not as beggars, not as refugees, but as masters. The Emperor looked out over the stars, his voice carried across the Empire saying, "Remember this day, the day the Forgotten Ones became the rulers, the day Earth rose from ashes to fire, the day the Empire was born, and the galaxy would never again forget the name of humanity." For the dawn of their empire was only the beginning, and the stars themselves would one day belong to them.